You're strong.
I know.
It's okay. I've got you now.
Just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I'm here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello.
And today we are talking about a topic that was actually suggested by my friend Daniel. So thank you for that. So we've talked a lot about Superman and Wonder Woman in the movies. We even did a whole thing on the DCEU. But we thought, wouldn't it be kind of interesting to do what if Christopher Reeve Superman and Linda Carter Wonder Woman crossed over? Because there was potential in there. And as you will see, the people that made the Wonder Woman show went almost there. Almost. But Britt,
So close.
yeah, they went just shy of saying it. So I was like, I could see where you guys are going. And as you'll see, there's a lot of interesting stuff going on here. So let's go. Linda Carter's Wonder Woman.
Okay, so with this, everyone knows the Wonder Woman theme song. You know, they know Linda Carter. She is pretty much known as just the Wonder Woman for everyone around the world. I would say, even though DCEU, gave a stamp for a newer generation of Wonder Woman fans, it's still known as for the classic, and the Wonder Woman who is most referenced to is Linda Carter. So it ran for 3 seasons. Season 4 was set up by this episode that we will refer to. But something happened. I don't know. I couldn't find why it was canceled, but unfortunately, it was canceled and wasn't able to do a season 4. But the only thing that I didn't like was with this show, I was very confused on Steve and Steve Jr. And
Wait,
also,
there's the Steve Jr.
yeah, it's so season 1 and 2, I believe. No, season 1 is regular Steve. Like he crashes on the island, it's a slight romance there,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And then I think season 2 and season 3 is called The New Adventures of Wonder Woman, and
Which the theme
she
song for that was not as good as the first. I got because and I watched the episode that we're gonna reference. Immediately, I was like, "Did I put on the right show?" Because that's not the Wonder Woman theme. At least not the one that everyone knows.
yeah, I mean, I think that's probably why it was canceled, because I guess the as always, production and stuff, they don't have that certain investment anymore, or creative teams change and they ruin things. And we know that from Superman and Wonder Woman New 52 book, with the creative team changing and stuff. So
Oh yeah, we definitely. And all of a sudden, she had a cape, and I'm like, "What the hell did this come from?" I like it. I like Wonder Woman with a cape, particularly the American flag. But I'm like, "What?"
and yeah, and they honestly, her fashion, it really became more of her being like a fashionista as well. And she lived in LA. She went from Washington to LA. So that was that very high class lifestyle, it seemed. But yeah, this didn't last. I thought it lasted, I don't know, more years than it did. But I guess even with it being cut short, it still was very impactful for Wonder Woman as a character.
Yeah.
Um, Lyle Wagner, he played Steve Trevor, but yeah, he played both. He played the first Steve Trevor and Steve Trevor Jr.
Well, that's not
Steve
confusing.
Steve Trevor Jr. She didn't like have a romance with him. Obviously, it would have been weird because You know, but I just
Not
don't
if it's written by
understand.
Bruce Timm or John Byrne.
But I just don't understand that sort of transition of, so does that mean like obviously Diana and Steve never got together, but he must have like was with someone else and they had a kid, and that descendant or whatever like that became I don't know. It's just all confusing to me. I didn't really pay attention to that, of course, because I'm not very interested in Steve. So, but yeah.
So here's the funny thing. I'm looking at Max right now. According to Max, the Wonder Woman show has 4 seasons.
Huh.
It could be,
Maybe
you know what it probably is? It's probably that this was in a time period when like shows had like ridiculously long seasons. What they probably decided to do is split it up. That's why it was confusing
exactly.
to me when I was trying to find this episode, because I told Britt, I'm like, Britt, this is not in the season that like it was referenced in. But then I'm like, okay, because
Yeah,
what would probably happen is that what's labeled season 4 here is probably the back half of season 3.
yes, I believe so. I mean, older shows had very long seasons.
Mm-hmm.
So,
That's probably what it is.
yeah, so that's definitely what it is. You also have, I don't like the 40s setting.
Mm-hmm.
I know within that time of being um, Wonder Woman being that 40s character,
Uh,
but I just do not like the 40, that
so you
40s.
could say you don't
Um,
like Wonder Woman being old as dirt.
yeah, I don't. Even her age of being, I think, even on the island, she was thousands of years old. I know that the mascara's time is different sometimes. Like it's a minute for us or something, or 1,000 years for them it can be 20 minutes for us or something like that. Or a little bit longer, but it seems shorter for the mascara. However, still, I don't care if she is immortal. I still would rather Diana, you know, um, be in present day, because I feel like if you have her old as dirt, her mission is to change the world. So why should it take her 100 years to complete her mission? That to me, if she hasn't completed it, or at least have some progression within, I would give like 10 in the first 10 years, then yeah, it's something wrong. So if she's in the outside world for over 60 years
Yeah.
and still nothing has happened, nothing has changed, and she ends up conforming to the way the world is and not really um you know doing her I mean what she set out to do. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like, what's the point of her character? So yeah, so that whole thing, they want her to be the first hero, but she's not an inspiration.
The other
She's
thing, here's my problem with this. It's a small issue. I noticed this watching the episode. That lasso is really, really, really small when it's on her hip. I'm like, that is stretching that
Jared.
far?
Jared, we have to, it was in the 70s. So
There's
we
one
have to,
thing where there's one moment in that episode, and I'll get to it when we talk about that. When it happened, I was like, well, it's the 70s, but it's hilarious.
yeah. I
But
mean,
the thing I liked about the show is that they got the spirit of the character, though, even though she's like even though it's like it has its issues, and it almost page to screen recreated the first Wonder Woman, like her first appearance to the first comic she was in.
yeah, it really captured, and I guess that is why this show has had the longevity and impact it has on, Wonder Woman fans and some DC fans that, are paying attention to Wonder Woman, but this is what she's known for. And another thing, though, within the 70s, the accuracy of her outfit, that is of that time. But you can
I
definitely
know why
tell.
you're bringing that up, because yes, they're gonna say, I've seen them say, Oh my gosh, they could do the bikini they did in the Linda Carter thing. And first off,
Right.
at certain points, it doesn't look good. But in addition to that, it's like that was back during a period, and you could argue we're still in that period, but still, where women were very objectified in Hollywood.
Yeah. And although Wonder Woman's whole message is to basically embrace your body and embrace who you are as a woman and feel confident in yourself, that is not how that message um is not going to be reflected within comic book movies now.
No,
Because it
it's not
is,
going to look good. It's going to look like James Gunn's Superman. We all know how that looks.
yeah, you're going to have it's going to look campy, but it's also you're subjecting the actress, whoever she may be, to onset, maybe, some onset looks that are very uncomfortable, and then the fans. The fans and online are horrendous
As
now.
we have detected, particularly of late. But
Yeah,
Britt, you see, the reason why going back to this is that this is very apt to compare these two, Christopher Reeve and Linda Carter, is because here's the thing, and we kind of touched on this. This did for Wonder Woman what Christopher Reeve Superman did for Superman.
yeah. However, again, it's still of its time,
It's still of
so
its
we
time.
don't.
That's why watching it, I appreciate what it did, and I enjoy a lot of parts of it. There's a lot of parts where I'm like, what?
Okay, this is yeah. I mean, when watching older cartoons, older shows, you can tell that, of course, they did not have the, special effects, the budget, and everything that we have now. The, technology to make things more realistic, um, blood, bullets, things like that. And it was very much just the practical effects, and it was more so just having fun with the imagination. And that is what makes these shows or movies, classic movies, have, like I said, the impact and longevity that they do have, is because you can, as a kid, use your imagination. But now, honestly, because of all the weirdness and drama that's going on with Hollywood, and how with social media, especially TikTok and stuff, anyone can become famous. Even though they can't act, they might can't sing, but it takes that one video to make this person famous. And then they go to Hollywood and they think they are um an actor, like that they went to Juilliard or something like that. And it's really a lot of soulless portrayals of characters, and especially when they run out of ideas, and we have so many reboots or so many remakes of stuff. With superheroes, I will say that it is a generational thing, that you do need to have this certain character, step into the times. So Superman, at that time, it was in the 70s, it was the Donner films,
Mhm.
and that was of its time. Superman skyrocketed in popularity. You loved the character. Little kids were um, running around with a cape in their underwear on the outside, but kids don't. This generation of kids,
And I have a hard time believing that. Did you ever hear that, like, back then there was like a big epidemic of kids putting on Superman suits and jumping off their roofs?
I did. It was.
I doubt that actually happened. I
I
gotta
don't
be honest
know.
with you, because if you know Superman, you know it's not just the suit that makes him fly.
Right. I think that a lot of kids, I mean, kids do, jump off their parents' furnitures. when
Scott
you
Snyder did famously, but the idea of jumping off a roof, that's where I'm like, it's probably coming from the same parent groups that said at the time that comic books were turning kids gay.
Yes, they do anti uh, groups. They exaggerate.
Oh,
So
trust me, as a gamer, I encountered that because I have a buddy who wouldn't let him play Call of Duty because they were afraid he was going to turn him into a school shooter. And I'm
Well,
like, he's a normal kid. He'll be fine.
I mean, the way, honestly, to me, even with music, they do the same thing, and they want the artist to be the parent and censor their art for the kids that are listening. You know, um, of course, I have to bring it up. I listen to Megan Thee Stallion, and she curses
Really?
in hush.
Do
She
you also
curses.
listen to Beyonce?
Of course, I do. I am in the beehive.
I had to
Um,
be. I
um, you know, and they parents come on social media and they complain about how she presents herself, the cursing, and it's like, why should she censor her music and her art? You as a parent are supposed to teach your kid either not to listen to it, not to mimic it,
yeah.
not to, things like that. It is not up to the artists that don't know you from Adam, basically, to like I said, censor their art and have a consciousness that, oh, it's a kid that's supposed to be, in bed by 9 o'clock going to school, watching my music video that comes out at midnight. You know, that
Yeah, it's like
shouldn't be
the kid should be asleep, and it gets to the thing. Like a lot of parents just want to plop their kids in front of an iPad and just go about their merry way. And I'm like, you have to monitor it, particularly with stuff that's on the internet. So it's like,
right, very much easy access.
mhm.
So it's just like that kind of stuff where people exaggerate, people try to take away the fun, people try to make something bad that the intentions are all good, or they are doing their own thing. That is why we have so many censorings of movies, of certain topics. You can't really have a in-depth, mature discussion of anything because it will offend too easily. But it's all about maturity, and it's all about parents being parents, and watching your kids, monitoring your kids. You can't blame YouTube when like you just said, you throw a kid a tablet in their face and then you just walk away from it. That is
Exactly.
what
My parents
parental
were very
control is like.
strict. They said, you can't watch this, you can't watch this, you can't watch this. And I turned out, okay, well, maybe that wasn't the best example. But anyway, so then we get to, speaking of great examples, Christopher Reeve Superman. And this is part of the reason why we're doing this episode now, because the documentary, I think, comes out in theaters today. And
Yeah.
then it's like in a couple of weeks, it's also going to be, I think it's doing like 2 days in theaters. So I'll be sure to watch it, or it'll be on Max. But the thing is with this is one of those movies where, again, it was a cultural thing. It blew up. And honestly, here's the thing. It is a comic accurate version of Superman of the time. Because remember, this is pre-Crisis Superman, because Crisis didn't happen until the 80s. So as far as you know, this was the ridiculous Superman that we had. This is the one that could fly backwards and reverse time, or my favorite, pull a solar system on his back on a chain.
Yeah. And I mean, his attitude or lack thereof attitude,
Mhm.
the um bumbling,
Mhm.
galoot attitude, the exaggeration to separate, his identity and stuff like that. That works
Mhm.
within, again, that time, because it was a comedic, point of view of who Clark Kent was, and trying to, that whole just shenanigans of making sure that Lois never finds out his identity, because her whole thing was to expose who he, really was. That works. But again, within this time, I would want Clark to not be so exaggerating that sort of clumsiness and just going over the top. I feel like if he was more of like how New 52 had him, or I think it was Birthright, where he was just a very reserved and chill, kind of guy. Maybe gave this loner type vibe, but he was still very respectful and nice, approachable. But yeah, the whole exaggerated galoot thing, I would say keep that within the 70s of these movies. And even Christopher Reeve, he did not like that portrayal anymore. He felt like that was even tired. So if you have the
Yeah.
actor who's playing Clark, even he says that it's kind of like a tired thing now. You have to let that go.
Yeah, and I remember even he also said I wanted to see multiple interpretations of the character because he said, and even Henry said this when it went down with him, happened to him. He says Superman is more than one actor. Honestly, what it is, a lot of the nostalgia that people let me rephrase. A lot of they always have to do Christopher Reeve, or like there were people that wanted them to AI like deep fake his face onto Henry Cavill. A lot of that is just old people not wanting to admit they're old. That's what it is. They want to admit, they want to stay in that time period when this movie came out.
I mean, that's honestly true. Rebirth was very much
Rebirth is the
what,
poster child for why you shouldn't do that.
yeah, and it was going back down memory lane, the greatest hits type thing. That is what Sam, he said that what did he say about being married?
Bloodlines. Hmm?
You're basically married to
Yeah,
what you grew up on.
and
We
that's
get
fine.
that. Yeah, it's totally fine. However, that's very selfish though, because
Yeah,
you
to
are,
expect I'm sorry, to expect your version to reflect the character permanently.
yeah, and you are not giving a chance for the newer generation to grow up with a version of their own. So with
Mhm.
New 52, you know, that version was our generation version of Superman, and you killed them off because,
And here's my other thing, and I mentioned this in the Rebirth episode of UTC we did the other day. It's like, so my the scene where it really grates on me is in the final days of Superman when he has that one issue with Wonder Woman, and Wonder Woman goes, "Okay, come on, I'm going to take you to the gods, and they're going to heal you." And then Superman's like, "No, this is the end of the road for me, Diana." And I'm like, "A hole, she could heal you."
yeah, that is the one thing that it was so contrived. The whole, honestly, from that
Contrived a
story,
Tomasi book, gasp.
honestly, from that story onward, DC has had a lot of contrived storylines to make things work. They don't have the true investment and um, like the ground set
What
for
do you
this.
mean? What do you mean, Britt? You're telling me that Lois Lane getting superpowers is contrived, or Wonder Woman having a daughter purely because Superman and Batman have kids is contrived?
Yeah,
I had to. That is the worst reason to give Wonder Woman a kid. I'm just gonna tell you that right there.
that is true. I mean, you have not, there's no indication of Diana wanting a kid, even in the New 52.
Nope, there was
When,
one when she
no,
says Zeus was the last shot I ever had. Was the first time I ever thought about having kids or something like that.
yeah, it was, no, I'm saying like within the New 52, she did say that she
Oh,
had fleeting thoughts
mm-hmm.
of, because she was in a committed relationship with Clark. So it was kind of like, maybe we can, have that one day. But it still was just a thought, and she kind of like buried it. That's what it was. It was smothered desires. It was a desire that she had, but they put their duties first, and and well, the contrivance of, killing off New 52 Superman and her going,
Being
being
with
thrown
Clark
into.
was easy, Steve.
I mean, honestly, I don't really believe that again because she did end up with a mental breakdown and having to be
And
thrown into an institution in a straitjacket. So,
yeah, and okay, so wait a second. You're saying being with Clark was easy. You almost beheaded him when he was turning into a rage monster. But anyway, back to Christopher Reeve's Superman. Anyone that has watched this show for any amount of time knows that we go on tangents, but that's part of the fun. But going back to this movie, this also has like the villain plot of this is very of the time. Like he wants to, like Lex wants to create a earthquake to create like real estate, and I'm like, okay. I do think you should break off California, but not to make more real estate. I had to.
I don't know. That is very definitely of the time.
Mhm.
Um,
And then they tried to recreate that for Superman Returns, and even Nick, my friend, who's a big Reeves fan, I'm like, I mean, he's like, yeah, that didn't work.
I honestly don't know why Superman Returns. Well, no, I do know that they are basically just chasing the success of the older films. I get that because you felt like it was a big boom, but at the same time, it was of its time, and that is the whole thing that some fans need to remember. And with that, you can love it, you can honor it, but don't try to force it within this newer generation because that is why Superman basically has struggled, with um, having proper films.
So, what's funny? Nick and I did a comparison of the two, this and Man of Steel, and one of the things we discovered, they're so like in sync. Did you know that they become Superman at the exact same time, pretty much? Time code and everything.
Really, I did not know that.
That's why it's kind of funny. What I say about Man of Steel is Man of Steel is telling the same story, at the same basic story as this movie, only in it's essentially modernizing this movie. And I'm like, that's the way you do it. Because ultimately the tale of Superman is a guy that has these incredible powers, trying to find his way in the world and trying to find a way to inspire people. That's what Man of Steel did. That's what this did. And they both did it great for the time period. I mean, obviously, this did it for that time period because it was a massive hit. And then they decided to put out sequels. But by the way, whenever anyone says Superman would never kill, it's always the Reeves fans. And I'm like, he broke Zod's hand, grinned like an idiot, and then punched him into a wall after Zod was depowered. He dead. He dead. That's the funniest part. And they're like, that's not in the director's cut. That's not canon. Well, guess what? The director's cut's not canon. I could say the Snyder cut is canon because they explicitly reference it in The Flash. That's the difference between that. But I had to. I absolutely had to, because even though they tried to decanonize in the comics, I'm like, nope, the movie didn't show that. Anyway, I'm sorry. I'm a little petty because whenever anyone's like, Superman wouldn't kill Zod, I'm like, read a comic. Continuing on. So this is where it gets kind of interesting. So I did not know that Supergirl was supposed to be in Superman 3. Now, the last part, cutting Lois, I'm all in favor of that. You should know this by now. But when they wanted to give a romance between Superman and Supergirl, please tell me they wouldn't make Supergirl's cousin, or I may have to break out a banjo.
Okay. Well, you know what? The fact that, first of all, the fact that they have wanted a superpowered like pairing for Superman and Wonder Woman says a lot in itself. Second, the banjo thing. The fact that some Superman fans will say that Superman and Wonder Woman is, incest, they're like sibling, or, something like that. And it is this one fan that talks about like he makes references of the South in a very derogatory way. And first of all, like, what do you have against the South?
Second
And
off, it's like the other thing about like speaking of banjo stuff. I never thought I'd be referencing this on a show, but we're in there. Isn't it kind of interesting how Lois with superpowers looks like Clark's sister?
yes, so I mean, are Superman fans gonna play banjos now that Lois has powers, that she has the same exact costume on? It's she when they first revealed the cover, the Superman fans thought she was a future daughter. So that tells you a lot, of how her appearance looks. And the fact that she has the exact same color costume and the cape, everything. She just have like these weird yellow gloves that look like dishwasher gloves.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, exactly. And she basically had the Kara design from the Lara design from Injustice, and I'm like, it's a nice
well,
design.
it's
Yeah, go ahead.
Kara from Flash.
But that was based off of Lara from Injustice.
Was it? Because I thought that pretty much was also from an older like Superman costume design too.
No, Tom Taylor did a post about it because she even
Tom
had the shorter
Taylor,
hair.
Tom,
Here's why I believe that. He posted a comparison photo of the two.
the thing is, uh, Sorel had the same hair. So, I mean,
But Sire L didn't have like
sorry, sorry.
however you pronounce these names.
Yeah,
He didn't have like the costume design because it's a very specific costume design for Lara. It says that she had the red shoulders and all that stuff. So I was like, I could see where you're going with that. Which, by the way, it's a nice costume.
yeah. I mean, but Tom Taylor, he tries to any type of movie announcement or, live action something.
Like when it was being like hinted at that, well, rumored that like Superior Iron Man was going to be in Doctor Strange, and he goes, "Well, I created this superior Iron Man," and
Yeah.
I'm like, "A hole, they didn't tell you about it." Or it's like
Or
what? Or it's like when Tom King also tries to take credit for saying Darkseid is.
yeah. Or he also when the Booster Gold um show was announced, or any show that DC has announced, and Tom Taylor has kind of like, even if it's one panel, he would post that one panel and say, "Well, I wrote this character here." It's like that, you only wrote them in one panel. That's not a whole story of the character. You just want to, I mean, it's good type of PR or whatever to get people to, um, especially
I see.
collectors.
Here's why I'm in favor of that. Why I'm not going to bash Tom Taylor for doing that, because it encourages moviegoers to pick up comics, and
That's
then
true. That is
business
the
becomes a little
only,
healthier. So I'm like, I see why. I think that's why he's doing it. It just happens to also like benefit him.
yeah, he still tries to take more credit than he,
That's true.
yeah. So, with this story though, okay, so yeah, Superman and Supergirl or Superwoman were supposed to be a couple because with uh Keeter, they felt like the second movie was the end of their like love story, that it basically wasn't going to work out.
Oh yeah, because
So
that's the one where he wipes her memory with a kiss, right?
yeah.
Okay, that's actually a good point when you think about it.
So and with the creative change, they just didn't want Lois involved anymore. They just felt like they have exhausted the story potential for her. And I didn't know that Reeve and Keeter had kind of like animosity towards each other a little bit, or they did not get along on set.
Well,
Which is
she was playing Lois Lane. Can you blame him? I'm only kidding.
well, well, it was actually Chris that kind of had like he was a perfectionist and he wanted things done in a certain way. So it was kind of like he would say what he liked and what he didn't like, what should be changed, things like that. So it was just little bits and pieces that he kind of had, wanted control. And then they felt like Lois and Clark's relationship, um, it was more of a sibling type relationship, which is funny again, of referencing, Lois and Clark's relationship and those types of claims that they actually had, they try to project it on Superman and Wonder Woman. So yeah, Lois and Clark actually had this sort of relationship as siblings in a sense within the Donner films, where they felt like it would
Well,
have been.
and you know what's kind of funny? That's the relationship I always thought they had in the New 52, because yeah, they weren't romantic, but it was more like they're like not necessarily rivals. I don't think, at least up until he left the planet to form that news site. But it was more like they're like colleagues.
Right. And then it was also, I believe there was a video going around a couple of months ago or a year ago that he felt that he wanted a younger love interest too. It was
Okay.
basically saying that, Keter is older,
Mm-hmm.
which
I
I
see.
find, I find that a little kind of like, okay, overboard with
Yeah.
her. However, if you should have just kept it in the line of, we felt more that they had this brother and sister relationship than just calling the woman, of course, old. But then within, again, that time, older male actors did have interest in younger actresses, which is a whole nother thing, and very much going into a very dark hole of Hollywood. But that is just how it went. So you saw less of Lois, and they, like I said, they wanted to introduce a superpowered love interest, but this was rejected for unknown reasons. They knew that they were cousins in the
They better have
comics.
known.
They did know, so I doubt that her name would have been Kara. They did want her to have a father-daughter relationship with Brainiac. Brainiac
What?
basically raised her. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and
The more you say, the more you tell me about this is turning it. Is this payback for when I explained to you stuff about Amazon's attack?
I mean, if that is the case, yes.
You meanie.
And you also have Mixoplex within this too.
Oh God! Of
So it
course,
was very over the top, campy. Oh, and Lana was in it. Was in it
Oh.
as well as a potential love interest. But even
How
with
many
her,
love interests are in this movie?
honestly, they were just wanting Superman to be basically like a Casanova. But it really,
They wanted to be Batman.
but at the end, when Supergirl, I would want to call her Superwoman instead, but
Yeah.
even Superwoman,
I even think that they should change her name nowadays because she's an adult. So why are you still calling her
well,
Supergirl?
she can't have the Superwoman name
Oh
because
yeah, thanks, Lois.
Lois, right? But
What they could do if they were smart, do this for an arc, but then have it where Lois. I know she won't do this because she's Lois Lane. She's selfish, but you could have Lois eventually at the end of it when she loses her powers, say, "You know what, Kara, this belongs to you."
Yeah, she's selfish. You're not gonna have that,
She's not
Brittany.
going to do that, but that would be a way to salvage this.
Yeah, but for the sake of not being even more weirded out, we will call her Superwoman.
Mhm.
So they have this antagonistic toward battle or relationship at the beginning, her and Superman, because of course Brainiac's like brainwashing her. And I didn't read the entirety of the script because it was kind of boring. So I just skipped to the end. But basically, when the fight is over, trying to save everyone, of course, they work together um, in making that, I guess, the sacrifice at the end. Um, it was implied, so of them getting falling in love, of course, and if Superman wanted to marry Superwoman. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I mean, wanting Superman and Superwoman, that whole thing is very much the eugenics thing, the um, that again, Superman fans claim Superman and Wonder Woman is. You have it right here that creators of Superman wants Superman to be with a superpowered being, and honestly, is really not a flex, is not anything that to be cheering for or to think you have a one up on Superman and Wonder Woman because Lois is was supposed to be like Superman's human tether. She
And
was
then superpowers.
right. That really throws their argument out the window. You know,
Particularly when I see people praising it, saying, "Oh my gosh, I can't wait to see them bang," and I'm like, "So are you gonna? So are you going to concede defeat now, or when I call you a hypocrite?"
yeah, it's very much hypocritical and the double standard. And again, she looks like Superman's sibling. Uh, the first cover, they thought she looked like a daughter, a future daughter. Um, and now the only thing that's kind of making Lois look different, they tried to give her like brown hair, but it seemed like she still has the black hair. So yeah, they definitely look like they're twins,
Yeah, the only
within,
thing that kind of pointed to it being Lois when that was first revealed was the purple eyes. But even beyond that, I'm like, but anyway, moving on. So yeah, so we had Supergirl, but what did Superman 3 become?
the movie with Richard Pryor. He he was a computer programmer, and honestly, I don't know exactly what was going on within that movie. It was very comedic. Um,
Oh
the
God.
the campiness turned up.
Like when like airtight aircraft guns are shooting at Superman and you see the control panel, but and it's an 8-bit like video game like Star Commander or something like that, and I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, it some of these choices that they made, they really went into the Silver Age type,
Mm-hmm.
you know, over the top. But I would take whatever, the final product was over that initial script for sure. Because,
Yeah, at least in this, there's no banjos.
yeah,
I have to make that joke. Well, that then again, if it was written by John Byrne, that probably would have been front and center.
right. Oh gosh, that's terrible.
See, my mission in these episodes is to make Britt cringe as many times as I can. Luckily, she makes it very easy for me.
Yeah, because it's awful. I mean, the
Well, here's the thing: DC gives me all the ammunition. That's the best part about DC being in the state it's in. I have limitless ammunition.
Yeah, if that's true. Definitely true.
But see, the thing about this is that if you want a Superman movie that you can just watch and like turn your brain off, this is the one for that. And it's not like it's hard, because here's the thing, Britt. As bad as this movie is, it's no Superman 4.
Oh, no, it's not. I
That's
mean,
why I'm like, yeah, this is not the best Superman movie, but at least it's not the fourth one.
the bar is very, very low.
Nuclear
However,
Man.
oh gosh.
Watch if James Gunn pulls that and makes that you guy Nuclear Man.
I don't think so. It um
He's copying a bunch of stuff from Christopher Reeve. As far as we know, there are people that have seen stuff and says it's not that, but I'll believe that when I see it.
I think that it would be kind of like it's not so much as a copy, but it will be elements
Mm-hmm.
and like how, Clark the Clark Kent persona is, I think the villain or whoever he is Ultraman. That was something that seemed to be concrete,
Oh my
but
gosh. And that turns into Bizarre, and I'm like, where's the comic book accuracy that people have been touting with this?
you know,
I
it's
like to
just
I see, here's the thing. I don't care about that. I just like to be petty with people that have been critiquing the Snyderverse for not being comic book accurate, but they're excusing this stuff because arguably this is the more egregious.
honestly, as long as Superman has underwear, they will accept anything. They
Watch.
honestly,
If they give him a second suit, I guarantee you at the end of the movie, that second suit won't have the underwear.
they will drink a lot of sugar honey iced tea.
Well, yeah, because and we even said it on CLD one week. We were like, here's the smart way to do this: have the first suit have the trunks, and then and then the main suit that will follow him throughout the DCU does not. That way, you can say we homage the trunks, but now we're moving on. Because I think if they do that, then that's actually a good compromise. And plus, if he gets a better suit, maybe it'll actually fit him. I'm sorry, that's an whenever anyone like put the picture of the new 52 Clark up next to that, I always put in the comments because I'm a petty a-hole. That's an insult to the new 52 Superman because it's not armor and it fits.
That's
But
true.
whatever. But honestly, this was one of those movies because I watched it for fun and I'm like, okay, because I get what they were going for. It's just I think Superman 2 is kind of where they started to go downhill. And what I mean is that after Superman 2, because then you have this, then you have 4, a break, then you have Returns, and arguably Returns tried to like repeat the first one, but did it in a very way.
Yeah.
At
It's
least I
like
think. Mhm.
they honestly the problem with Superman and Wonder Woman, they are stuck within the only thing interesting for them is their origins. And then after that, it feels like a lot of padding
Mhm.
and the investment is gone from moving their story forward. And also with their supporting cast. You know, their supporting cast has to evolve with them. And honestly, you can't because
Exactly.
Lois is a reporter. That's all she is. So,
And it's like, how you gonna like evolve the Newsboys Legion and Bibbo? That was my problem. I was on a buddy's channel talking about the end of the Electric Blue saga for Superman. I said, here's the problem with post-crisis Superman. There's too many characters.
yeah, because they are trying to compensate for not having anything good or well, um to say about Superman. So they bring in these OCs, these new supporting characters, and make them more interesting or think that they'll be more interesting. And you forget about your main character. They want basically the main character to revolve around the supporting cast, then the supporting cast revolving around or evolving, you know, with the main character. And when you try to turn it backwards, you everything just falls apart. So with Superman and Wonder Woman, they are both victims of this. That's pretty much why with every reboot, they are the ones that mostly has had the reboots, because you're trying to reinvent them to be of the time, but you have creators that are stuck in a certain time. Um, so that is what has been holding Superman back in the media, the big screen. The smaller screen, I mean, you had Dean Kane's show, which that is where you get the whole that is where you get the whole Superman is what I can do, Clark Kent is who I am. He pretty much rejected his heritage, you know, just wanted to be normal. It was a romance, like one of those Fabio type shows of him, a office romance. But when they got married, like officially, the ratings just kind of like plummeted. And
In the comics. Isn't that kind of
yeah,
funny how that works out?
right.
So, oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So, you have this where it feels like the character now, when you set this certain status quo, you set them up for stagnation. And then with Wonder Woman, with setting her in the 40s, wanting her to be immortal, you lose, you know, uh, her supporting cast is already small and barely any investment with the writers. Even with Steve, he's just the default love interest, and that's pretty much all they have for him in being in the military. So, um, his whole thing, honestly, his whole evolvement or whatever is for him to die, and for Diana to sulk for years or decades or whatever, and then that's it. And she cares about no one else. Um, her mission is kind of blurred, and then she's set in the background with the Justice League, you know. So with that, you have to have investment with Clark and Diana as characters first before the supporting cast. And oh well, if you have to let go, Lois or something like that and evolve it for other supporting casts to come about, then so be it. But stagnating Superman and Wonder Woman, it hasn't been the way to go.
Exactly. So, continuing on. So, here's the thing. Remember when we talked about Project AKO, and I called that an unofficially official daughter of Superman and Wonder Woman? Well, this is the official appearance of Superman in the Linda Carter TV show, because he's Superman. Now, as I said in the beginning of this episode, there's a moment in here that's very 70s TV show. What I mean by that, so the episode starts off and she finds an immortal chimp. First off, not calling this thing Detective Chimp was a wasted opportunity, but it
Oh
gets hit
my
by a
God.
car. And
I
then the camera pans and it's just a monkey doll flying across the camera, and it just lands there, and I'm like, is that a doll?
you know what? In that time,
I get
yeah,
it,
you can
but I'm
definitely see
like,
the dummies.
so funny from my perspective. I burst out laughing. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah, you can definitely see the dummies when they would have like bodies fall, being pushed out of a window, the burning, a car crash or something like that. Yeah, like we said earlier, the effects were not as good, as they are now. So you had to turn off your brain or just keep the imagination going. And yeah, it is, with seeing it now, it is hilarious seeing a stuffed body or whatever that you have to pretend that is
A,
that
a
person
monkey
or a
dog that
monkey.
doesn't even
Yeah.
look like the chimp. That's the other thing. But
Yeah.
so here's the episode. This dude is invulnerable and he's trying to like undo it. So he's going after a mad scientist. So the thing is, he looks exactly like Christopher Reeve to the point where, so Britt told me there was an episode of this where it's like a guy that looks like Christopher Reeve. And then when I saw it, I'm like, oh, yeah, there you go. I see it. And the funny part is that they make references to Superman, but I'll say it later. There's a hilarious part. And this is where the lasso being too small first showed up because she puts it on her little clasp and it's a very, very small rope. So first off, I'm like, how many times are you wrapping it around your fist to get it that small? But she literally, I love this, and I laughed about this part, takes cover behind him as they're being shot at. So she's like, quick, get in front of me and block these bullets.
And he does. And
yeah,
I mean, he doesn't do the Superman pose, with the hands on the hip, but it's still the fact of using his, as a shield, and that is the Superman thing, to do. Um, he does have a similar look to Christopher Reeve. The actual actor, he was a track and field star.
mm-hmm.
And I think he played football too. So they did when Diana went to, I think, his apartment, and it
Mm-hmm.
was pictures of him. And I
Mm-hmm.
didn't know that. I would assume that those are his real pictures. But it was kind of cool of having like this real athletic guy that, especially there was a scene where she kind of like gives him a lift to jump into a window. So it was like
I could so
that.
see Clark and Diana doing that, their banter back and
Yes.
forth. So then we get a scene where they're talking in a hotel, and then she basically goes, you should join like maybe the group I'm with, and then she jokes that you should join at the circus as the Man of Steel, and then he laughs and says in tights and a cape, huh? And Diana says, you wouldn't look so
You look so
bad,
bad.
and I'm like, that's on the level of, I assure you, Clark knows a thing or two about getting his hands dirty.
Yes.
But then something happened. So the dialogue that they have in this scene is about not really fitting in, not being able to like essentially be yourselves, be human, essentially. And I swear, I like to think that because Jeff Johns is a big fan of this period of DC, I kind of am starting to think that maybe he got ideas for the dialogue for JL12 from this.
I could see that because it was them talking about loneliness and with saying reference of how Diana has the dual identity of, I think it's implied that he does know that she's Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
So with her knowing, so with him, or the
Well, I mean,
implication,
she's not wearing a mask and if he couldn't see it, he's kind of stupid then.
yeah,
Yeah,
but
I'm like, all she does, she puts on a tiara.
and for some reason her hair does get a little longer too and
But
fuller.
still, that's why with Wonder Woman, again, the secret identity thing, I'm fine with everyone knowing she's Wonder Woman because that doesn't work for this character too. A tall, statuesque Amazon that happens to be the same height, build, skin color, and everything as Agent Diana Prince from the Department of Metahuman Affairs. How does no one put this together?
That's true. That's absolutely true.
I'm like, wait a second here. You guys are a government agency. Britt, they're a government agency. It's this fantastic image of a Wonder Woman thing. They have a picture of Wonder Woman plastered on the screen, and Diana Prince is standing literally right next to the picture, and no one puts it together. I'm like, and this is the organization that's trying to track down Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, that sounds like the government, though. So there you go.
That's true. That is so true. She does wear the glasses, though. So,
but still, but she never has her hair down, I guess. But that's not but that's like Clark Kent levels of like, she doesn't even do like the hunch or anything like that. But anyway, for this, again, it's very much like that, and See, the other part that really annoyed me about this episode was that kid with the trench coat that's selling food. I'm like, I fast forwarded through his stuff because at a certain point, I'm like, okay, that's cool. He's kind of comedic relief. It got really grating.
Yeah, it was a little over the top. And that's the thing is that in the 70s and, you know, when watching it present day, some things they don't land as they once did. So I will give it a certain pass in a way. But yeah, some things just did not age well within the series. And
And this also featured, I swear, when I was watching the show, and then the theme for this episode came on, and I'm like, that's not the Wonder Woman theme. Because here's the thing, it's okay. It's not as good as the season 1 music.
yeah, and I would say that that is production issue, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and with the creative changes again, and stuff like that. Sometimes they make terrible decisions. What worked within uh the first season, they should have kept like the theme. Oh, also, this was also said to be the only episode that Steve wasn't in, and it is the episode that was supposed to set up season 4. So I'm guessing that this was kind of like a trial episode to see um Linda and or Diana, um do they have chemistry? Can it work of her having a different, uh male co-star, and can it work with them, having that certain bond of the storyline of loneliness and being these now two immortals. Diana isn't invincible. She can't, but she can't block bullets, with her body, but it was still the blocking of the bullets and everything like that, and working together as now a super power couple. Um, so that was pretty neat that they still both within the Superman movies and the Wonder Woman show, they were transitioning from your traditional, human love interest, or well, in Steve's case, I would say his descendant, and he wasn't really a love interest. He was just like a male co-star, but still the same thing applies of now transitioning to a superpowered, co-lead, co-star. And like, we said it's inevitable for that because these characters, especially Superman and Wonder Woman, being superpowered, being Superman's whole thing is the man of tomorrow. How can he be the man of tomorrow when he's stuck in not only today, but the way they write him, he's very much like the old timer uncle. Like
Or
he,
Grandpa.
he reminds me of Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers opens up his sweater. He's got the Superman shirt on.
Yeah, Clark is very much Mr. Rogers, and that could be a good thing, but also it's just how they want him to have like this father figure type thing, and
You
it
want him to be a
misses.
galoot.
Yeah, and that just really the appeal in that it's taken away. Then with Wonder Woman again, the 40s, no, she should be in the present, um, and like I said, the evolution of both of these franchises were for them to, uh, go on to a more fantastical type direction. And honestly, I would have really wanted to see uh, Wonder Woman season 4 and how
Me
that would
too.
have been
I think
went
it would have been
about,
fun. So
and see
speaking, yeah, go ahead.
and to see him in a tights and a cape.
That would have been kind of cool if they
Like
actually went away.
how would they would have
They
designed it.
the first costume, like they put him through a costume like montage. One of them has the underwear on the outside, and he goes, "I look ridiculous."
That would be, yeah, very on the nose, but at the same time, it would have been very cute.
So going on to the next one, but before I transition to the next slide, I wanted to tell you, I know I've been quiet in terms of getting ideas. I have 6.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, this week I decided to go silent just to like see if it really screws with you. But yes, I got 6 ideas. So I'll be
And that,
getting 6 crying cat emojis by when we're
of
done with
course,
this.
of
So
course.
then they have the comics where they continue with this, and I have one of the issues, by the way. Except here's the thing: this is technically in the universe of the Batman 1966 show. Now, that was the thing. It's firmly established that like Keaton is the Batman of the Chris Reeves. That's why we kind of had to do this as like a, if we did this, but it's non-canon. But still, it's like, I mean, they recreated the look of the show, I think, pretty well anyway.
Okay, that is the one thing that confuses me because how Batman 66, the way that they wrote this was that Diana was immortal, older, and she met a younger Bruce Wayne. He was about 10 years old or whatever. And um, I guess he never forgot, or she never forgot him and seeing him older, you know. So they wanted that sort of dynamic, is that Diana pretty much is a much older, like, sister figure for Bruce within this crossover. However, I guess it works because it was the 60s and Lyle Wagner was going to be Batman. He auditioned for the Batman role, but I still really, well, I guess if he was to be, you know, Batman, if, you know, that works.
By
But
the way, I got that at a con.
that is so pretty.
Yeah,
You know,
I love. I also I love Wonder Woman with the American flag cape.
the artwork, yeah, the artists that they chose for these spit-offs, they can draw, you know, the likeliness of the actors, and that was really, really good.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have Wonder Woman 77 meets Bionic Woman. That wasn't really successful, I don't think. Um, Christopher Reeves and Michael Keaton Batman being in the same universe does not compute for me, because Keaton's Batman was
Murderous.
it was camp, but not that kind of camp that Reeve was. And
Yeah, I think they just did it because I mean, it was only in the comics, and I think they only did it because those were the 2 most popular versions of the characters at the time. I get the feeling that, yeah, because you're right. Reeve, in terms of campiness, works best with the Adam West show. By the way, do you know that in the 1966 comics, well, actually, this is Grant Morrison. He wanted to like put everything of Batman in one continuity. So you know how he explained the pop and the bam that would appear on screen? That's Batman hallucinating from all the years of breathing in Scarecrow's fear toxin, Poison Ivy's pheromone. So all of that is why the stuff pops on the screen.
wow.
So actually not a bad explanation when you think about it.
I mean, that is very,
It's very Grant
that's,
Morrison.
yeah, it very much is. I mean, this is pretty much why Batman is so, I mean, congratulations on getting a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. I didn't know fictional characters get a star,
Well,
but
when you're in as many movies as Batman is, you kind of, yeah.
yeah, so that is one thing, but to be able to try and put all of the Batman iterations together and respect all the iterations instead of how Superman or Wonder Woman does, and it's my, version is better than yours, or
Yeah.
they're vastly different, so they can't be unified, or they can't be placed together. That is another downfall that these two characters suffer with.
That's why
But
I love Grant, because when Grant Morrison writes something, they always try and respect every era of the character. And that's why I respect their writing so much, even if it is bat crap crazy, pun intended, because we're recording this on Batman Day. Crazy. Like when you have a comic where Green Lantern punches God, I'm like, okay, okay, bro. But then I read, like, even in Action Comics New 52 is one of the few New 52 books that even Superman purists say, if I have to give someone a Superman origin, that's on the list.
yeah, because you are going back to the golden age roots where Superman mattered. And
Mm-hmm.
in this modern age of corruption basically being on high, and people are way too comfortable showing how corrupt they are, especially on
Mm-hmm.
social media, that is the Superman that we need. Um, the Superman now is very much, like I said, Mr. Rogers, old timer type, that when they try to emphasize him being a reporter, and that should be important, but first of all, he's a hypocrite, double standard, lies of omission, very unethical, because and conflict of interest because of being married to Lois without anyone knowing who he is as Superman, and then being Lois's source. So that is something that, if you are supposed to be an advocate and a representative of truth, he is not being truthful. And that is the one thing that Diana does have, that is very much important, one upping Superman is that she lives in truth. She's not just, talking about it and forcing it how Superman writers do. She actually lives it. While Superman is living a lie every single day, because he is not living his truth, to the point of he's rejecting his own heritage, which Diana does not do. Um, But if you have to have a character that does all that, and he's not a good representation of what we need for today. Which is
Yeah.
sad, because again, the character is supposed to be the man of tomorrow, and his motto of being a better tomorrow and stuff like that, but he doesn't represent that.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to, speaking of that, so they continued his comics in the comics by Robert Venditti, fantastic DC Comics writer, like one of the absolute best. And again, Britt, he wrote the Green Lantern Rebirth book that I rave about so much. Like,
Mm-hmm.
there's a scene that I think he wrote where the Sinestro Corps members kidnap Hal, and then they call Sinestro. He's like, "Hey, we captured a Green Lantern." And then Sinestro's like, "Okay, who is it?" And they go, "Oh yeah, it's Hal Jordan." And Sinestro's like, "Are you freaking idiots? He's baiting you. Kill him now." And then Hal just annihilates all of them. It's so badass.
I guarantee you, after this recording, you will definitely go read the Lantern book again, because you have
Oh,
ideas.
there's
Always.
trust me. I have like moolah material for a certain story that you and I are going to work on. But
Yeah.
the point is, they continued it and it was pretty good. This was the book where I think they have Keaton show up in.
Oh, he actually shows up in it?
I'm pretty sure it shows. I'm pretty sure either Superman shows up in the Batman '89 book or Batman shows up in this book.
No, it's seriously. I just really cannot see that. I guess because it's so different, I can't see them interacting, you
Mm-hmm.
know? But hey, if you can make it work and make it interesting, then by all means do so. But yeah, for right now, because we know the movies, and just the vibe that it had, I don't see that being a good crossover.
Exactly. But all in all, it's let me put it this way. I haven't read the book, but what I can tell you who's trustworthy to write a dope book is Venditti. He was one of the good Rebirth writers.
Yeah, the rarity.
One of the rarity, but Britt, you know coming from me how hard it is for me to compliment something from Rebirth.
Yes.
So when I say it's good, it's really good. And then, so here's something that Britt and I talked about in one of the earlier episodes. The Perfume motion comic that I could so see as a date between Linda Carter and Chris Reeves.
Yeah. So well, first of all, like how they did in Project ACO, and with this, the artist Matt Haley, if you are going to do a Superman and Wonder Woman solo book, or them as a team, and you have it set in that retro type vibe, he is the artist to get for sure. And it really felt like, especially with Clark and Diana being in their civilian clothes, is that is what he was going for, is Linda Carter and Christopher Reeve. However, Clark has a lot more swagger, and he's actually standing up straight. He actually has like this confidence about himself. He's
so
not.
Diana is wearing a wedding dress?
Well, I think that it does look like a wedding dress.
Yeah, I'm just like, and Clark is like very cozy with her. So I'm like, was he trying to say, yes, DC, do this?
Honestly, only you would kind of like get that.
I would so do that.
They are, so the point of the comic, the motion comic, is they are at the fashion week. They are investigating, I guess, some mysterious the perfume or something. When you spray it, it possesses you or something like that. Or they are also trying to protect Jean Paul, because they've gotten word that he might be in danger. So they go undercover as Ambassador Prince and reporter Clark Kent, which, again, I think that is a perfect setup for Diana to have her role as ambassador and Clark be the reporter. Diana is, being the diplomat that she is the one that talks to the people, de-escalate certain situations, and just that, or being with, like, how you have the day in the life that Wonder Woman 170, where you did have Lois basically follow Diana around and write about her life and write about her work. And that's pretty much what I see, actually, that's better suited for Clark, because he actually will not only write about it, but because he is Superman as well, he will understand even more so and in depth Diana's feelings, when she's in and out of costume. So this is the same thing that Diana, what was fun about this, especially the first chapter of this, is the bottom panel. Diana asks him, would it have been better if we were in our work clothes? And then Clark is like, and miss you in this dress? And he said, so, and then the way
and then
he's
she says, I assure you, you know how to get your hands dirty.
Jared.
I'm sorry, that's just a subtle, okay?
But she, the way it's drawn, Clark definitely has the look that he's having some thoughts. And, they also have a scene where Clark promises, he says, once this is over, I will take you out on a proper date. So yeah, they were definitely dating within this comic, which is funny because it came out in 2017, and this is 2 years after they killed off New 52 Superman. So, Super Wonder was still in effect within that time.
By the way, 7 ideas. Actually, 8.
Jared, oh my gosh. If it's about this, like,
Actually, yeah, one of them is
yeah, I have an idea too.
that you gave me an idea for.
Well, I have an idea. We probably are having our 20 bestie what is it, telekinesis type thing where
Yeah,
we both have the
exactly.
same.
But here's the thing. Here's what makes the ideas so great. Most of them are based on stuff you say.
I know, which is kind of like they're
So
supposed
you
to
are
be
the
my
instrument of your
ideas.
own destruction, my friend.
That is so cruel. So cruel. But so within this, yeah, it's basically taking, this storyline, and what I would change though is obviously the villain. And I think it's Polka Dot Man. Um
Oh. Of all the villains you could have picked.
well, I think he wanted, just like it's campiness, he wanted
And
it
I
to be
guess because fashion and all that, but
right,
I'm like,
exactly. So, yeah.
you could have picked Cersei.
Well, Superman did become possessed, but Cersei kind of, I mean, she would be the fashion,
Veronica Cale.
oh my God, yeah. To
Hire
be
me,
a
DC. I'll do this crap for you.
to be a Wonder Woman villain. Well, I did. I chose the White Magician, and I think her name is Cassandra Arnold. She was a reporter stationed in Boston, and she was the past lover of the White Magician, but he turned her into a green skin. It's a green skin hag like creature.
Oh, okay.
So
Like an actual stereotype of a witch.
yeah. So obviously she will probably be a little bit envious seeing all of these, women who are models, and she would try to basically take out her frustration from the White Magician. I would say that he's probably there too with like a new woman. So yeah, she's taking her frustrations out on the models, and Clark and Diana are trying to investigate and pretty much find her. Um, and at the end, of course, she is caught. Um, the magician, he probably possesses Clark. Oh, within this, Clark is possessed, so the white magician possesses him. Clark and Diana fight, a little bit, but Diana is able to um, release Clark from the spell with using the lasso, of course. And then they have the happy ending of going on their the date that Clark promised Diana from the beginning. So that's pretty much a 6 issue type thing. This was 3 parts, but with adding, of course, Clark uh, first taking the assignment. He would think that to have it set up and give it a little bit more backstory, Clark thinks, oh, I'm going to like a fashion show. Is very mundane and is something that he isn't into because he thinks it's just a fashion show. But then once he figure out that, oh, it's something that's actually happening, that it's been reported that these models are getting ill by makeup or something, or they come up missing. So that is something that is important for him to go to. And then he figures out that Diana is going too. So he's like, oh yeah, I get to see you in beautiful gowns as well. So it is a win-win type.
Clark is like, hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it's a win-win situation for him.
Clark is gotta be the luckiest guy dating in Amazon, and he also has X-ray vision.
Jared, this is supposed to be PG.
I'm telling you, they make that joke in the comics all the time.
Yeah, they do. I mean,
you've made that joke in your stories too, miss. Come on.
I mean, the bottom panel definitely
I
gives that.
guarantee you, and with that look on his face, he is doing it right now.
I there okay, so there is another panel where it's like not their hero versions in the background, and it's kind of blank, and he's a little bit further um away, but he still has the same expression, but it's more so where he's kind of looking at her, and the way it's cut off, it does look like Diana has nothing on. So
And
it
Clark is
does give
like,
the
do I say anything or do I not say anything? Either way is good
so
for me.
yeah, so it does give the illusion, or that he is using his X-ray vision within this. Um, but yeah, it's something very cute that I think that for their first crossover, 6 issues of course it'll be camp, but to take this story and turn it into a crossover for them, a little bit of romance, if you were to have them romantic, or if not, I would say that Clark and Diana meet, as friends. The first time meeting, he interviews her, and um, they don't know that they are there for the same reason. Diana, until they would of course figure out that Superman and Wonder Woman, because they look too much like Superman and Wonder Woman, and even in Wonder Woman, what was it, 141, when they were under was it the Black Mercy, or
Mm-hmm.
and when he goes to her in the dream and he asks her, well, she says Clark, and then he says, yeah, how did you know? And she says, I have to be dumb, blind, deaf, blind, and stupid. Well, yeah, it's pretty much that, is that they know of each other as Superman and Wonder Woman, but to actually see the person in person, it's kind of like, yeah, a pair of glasses, having your hair in a ponytail, slouching a little bit, that doesn't really work. So,
Particularly nowadays when people are smarter and stupider at the same time. So it could work, could not work. So here's the thing. Britt sent me a clip today. Linda Carter commented on SuperWonder at one point. So I'm going to play that clip. So just I have to close the slideshow to pull up Twitter, because apparently it's not anywhere besides Twitter. Because I have looked. So hang on. Okay. Doing this. Make sure it's playing. All right. So Britt, when I share the screen, you can let me know if you hear it, because it would look really stupid if I play this and no one can hear it. So here we go.
Hear that she hooked up
I can hear it.
in the comics? No. What do you think?
Big news.
Oh my God. Well, they have a cute kid. Speaking of, yeah, cool. I think that's great. She needs a man in her life.
Is he the right guy? You think Superman's the right guy for Wonder Woman?
Absolutely.
She can bring him home, right?
Forget Steve Trevor.
I agree. Forget Steve Trevor. Let's kill him and then wipe him from continuity. I'm totally fine with that.
You know what? When I sent you that clip, the ending second, I knew that you would find glory in that, because
Now all we got to say is forget Lois Lane and then we're good to go.
you would definitely.
If I were writing Superman, you know that storyline One More Day, which basically retconned out the Peter Parker and Mary Jane marriage, I would do that, except I would call it 2 more hours, so it's not like straight up what I'm doing, but I basically tell people that's what I'm doing.
Oh my gosh, Jared.
And then watch sales would increase dramatically because no one cares about Lois Lane.
Well, I mean,
am I wrong?
I mean, they're giving her powers, so it has to be something to where
it has to be desperate. That's the thing, because not enough people care about it. But anyway, it's cool seeing all of the definitive people. I've asked DC Comics artists on this, and 9 times out of 10, they will say Superman with Wonder Woman. because it looks great, but to have someone that people see as as we said in the beginning of the episode, the definitive Wonder Woman that sees Superman and Wonder Woman as the ideal couple. And I'm like, thank you. And she says, forget Steve Trevor. And I'm like, you.
You are definitely going to probably clip this and
Oh,
use it.
I'm going to actually add this to my clips for the show if I could find it on YouTube. And then whenever anyone says Steve Trevor, I'm just going to play that last second. Forget Steve Trevor. Forget Steve Trevor. Forget Steve Trevor.
Yeah, I think I created something I shouldn't have.
And I'm going to say, it's all because of Britt. So I would thank you, Britt.
But it was funny because I knew your reaction, and it just shows how still the positiveness
So
of
I should say one thing. You know when I said that before you and I met, I had followed the Diana and Cal Instagram page?
Mhm.
That was the first post I ever viewed on the page.
Really?
Literally, that was on my Instagram recommendations. And then I was like, oh, what's this page? Diana Cal. Huh.
Now I probably have to repost this then. I definitely will.
Because it's of all the things to bring up today, and I'm like, that's the thing. And I was like, oh, I like this page then. Little did I know, ...
Right. Well, yeah, I will probably be reposting this soon because it is funny. And, we don't want to bash Steve Trevor. It's
We
not
do.
that.
I do.
Okay, Jared wants to.
I love how Britt of all people is trying to be very congratulatory and very like civil. And I'm like, nope.
I mean, I try to be civil. Let me
That's a load of sugar honey iced tea
with a little extra sugar. I
with
know
a
for
very
sure.
little extra sugar.
It is. Um, but yeah, I do try. I try is very minimal. But yeah, it's funny though. Just to have that um and to know that, like you said, the definitive Wonder Woman approves of the relationship. That says a lot, that it is some positiveness within it. And
Because
anyone
most
who
people are in favor of it. Most people outside of Twitter are in favor of it.
right. And I would say that we Friday, yesterday, having a husband and wife, yes, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of, again, it's very I was coincidental maybe, but to have a husband and wife share their photos that were inspired by images from the Instagram, it says a lot about the couple. Is that, they are inspired with their wedding proposals. They're inspired to have Superman and Wonder Woman themed weddings, inspired to have maternity photo shoots, and it's very much an honor to be able to share that. And they want me to post it, and it's kind of, and I adore when the husband um sends that he wants to like have a special caption for his wife, and to surprise her with the tag or something like that. That is just so sweet and adorable, so when you have something like that, but then you have Twitter be so aggressive with hate and make these claims about Superman and Wonder Woman being like this evil, power scaling
The
couple,
devil.
or or the fans being uh like adult film addicts or whatever, and or saying how it's a failure, no one likes it, and you are mocking the meaning and how these real life couples have taken the marquee of power couple and how Superman and Wonder Woman being a couple, and how we present it and putting the meaning of power couple in it, you mock it. But you, because Lois has powers now, you are making it shallow. You know, these Superman fans are such hypocrites, set these double standards because you are being shallow. You are being very petty, childish to be grown men, and the way they disrespect female characters is so uncalled for. I mean, you can like a ship, but Diana and Lana are not stepping stools. They are not punching bags or whatever for Lois.
Well, here's
It's
the
not
thing,
that.
Britt, and I guess we should probably bring this up. Is like with the bullying and all that stuff, because Britt and I wanted to address this again. By the way, everyone, I want to say thank you because my anti-bullying video is at. I'm doing a view count live on air, so screw it. 799 views, so someone go watch it so it'll get to 800. But it's an important message because here's the thing. Someone close to Britt and I, we're not going to identify who it is, and we're not going to name names of any accounts that went after him, even though we know who did. It's because it's to Britt's point. It's become freaking ridiculous that you have oftentimes adults bullying kids just because they disagree on, okay, you know what? Screw it. I played this clip on my video multiple times, but hey, Britt, I don't think there's ever been a clip that's more appropriate for this topic than this.
Okay, they're talking about fictional characters. Fictional characters.
Right?
Exactly. And what's crazy is that these are adults arguing with people much younger than them over fictional characters.
Fictional characters.
And what is it's even more so just when you think about these adults and their families, if they, are married, if they have children, you wouldn't want your children to be bullied on social media. So why would
A lot
you
of these
go on?
kids, a lot of these people have kids. That's the despicable
Well,
part.
yeah, if these that first of all, that's very questionable because it's kind of like if you have kids, I just can't see why a parent will go online and go bully someone else's kid. Like that just it's not computing with me.
It happens
Um,
though. Have you
yeah.
seen Little League parents?
Well, yeah, that's true. Very competitive. But I mean, this is more, yeah, seeing competitive parents in sports and cheerleading, dance, pageants, you know, st that is something that is a little bit, is never understandable because you're doing too much. However, within that of wanting your kid to be great and famous or something like that, that's fine. But we're talking fiction, paper people, drawings.
Yeah.
And I see these certain Superman accounts that are so, they think that they own the character first by the number of followers they have, and they call themselves big accounts. First of all, you have only half of what I have. I have 65,000. You only have what, 19,000, or not even that, maybe like 5,000, and you think that's a big famous account, you know? I don't usually compare following because that's not the point of it. I more so care about the fans who feel comfortable, the fans who enjoy the content that we post. But if you want to get technical though, Superman and Wonder Woman as an Instagram page does have a lot more followers than at least I would say the big mouth Superman accounts, and it's probably about 5 or 6 of them. Even combining those, we still have more followers on the Instagram account.
Because we're
So,
so positive. That's the thing.
right. And then it's another one where he tries to have hit tweets. He posts certain things and That is all he cares about. But yet, you are spending your time wanting likes. You want validation. You want acceptance from people you don't know over the internet. That, yeah, they're going to click a button for free, but you aren't getting paid for it or anything like that. You aren't even you aren't really making a living for anything. You were just posting a fictional character and being so rude to other people. But what is it actually doing for you? You know, and once you start blurring the lines of fiction and reality, in that character, the status quo shipping a certain ship or whatever becomes your personality, you first of all you need a psyche valve, and second, it's kind of like you really lose yourself in your life, and just that the way to actually socialize like a normal functional person. you know when you start to have your life based on fiction, you think that in reality that is something that you are actually going to have. you know I've seen a lot of fans even think that when they want a relationship or something like that, they talk to women like they want to play, like they want women basically to be victims, like they are here to save women, or they act like the bumbling galoot nerd or whatever, like a Clark Kent that's trying to get the attention of Lois or something like that. And
Hmm.
that's just something. No, you don't do that. Unless you're role playing, like how people do, they make accounts to role play of the character. Again, that's fine. But when you actually have that as your personality and you're going to people in DMs, you are catfishing, or just that weirdness or whatever, that has to stop. The bullying, the all of that makes this fandom so unwelcoming. It really needs to stop, because this is already a niche type media, and they are struggling to gain stability with new readers. With people and who are younger, and they need that new generation. So when you have these older fans who can't let go of the past, who wants to dictate everything, who makes it so unwelcoming for the younger audience, what do you have left?
And I've
What?
always said before that the problem that these fans don't realize that here's the thing. I don't think they want more people to get into comics, because these are particularly the old fans, that they want it to be like the time when it used to be like you were in a secret club if you read comics. But nowadays it's become more mainstream because of movies and TV shows. They see all these new people coming in, and they're all of a sudden their secret club is all of a sudden like mainstream, and they don't like that. Because here's the thing. If I'm coming into a fandom, like, and I say, oh yeah, my favorite Superman movie is Man of Steel, and they're like, you're a fake fan, that's not Superman. Are you gonna stick around in the fandom, Britt?
Of course not. Oh, I can't stand that fake fan. You have no right to call anyone a fake fan.
The last time someone did that to me, I said, I missed the part when you get to decide if I'm a Superman fan or not.
Yeah. And I mean, Superman and Wonder Woman fight dictators. So, with their so called fans acting like dictators, if you want to pretend that Superman and Wonder Woman are real, if they were real, they would not, tolerate this type of
Mm-mm.
attitude, this, and trying to self assert yourself, live vicariously through them. And like I said, it's just weird. And it's something that these characters were supposed to inspire, they were supposed to create a space where children were to just be children. And it helps, have this mind of creativity and how children imagine these different worlds, like when they have where kids act like the floor is lava type thing,
Mhm.
it's supposed to be something like that. But with these grown folks, they've made liking these characters into something so
A cult.
nasty.
It's a cult. That's what it is.
Well, yeah, it is.
The minute that you get, the minute that one of the critiques that they send you is like, or one of the DMs that they send you is, if you start liking Lois, we'll forgive you. That's literally a cult.
Yeah.
That is literally a cult.
Yeah. And then just the whole thing about like, it was shaming that I think one of the DMs sounded like they were from like the medieval times or something. It was so like
Thy thou feel Lois Lane shall be sent to the gallows.
honestly, Jared, yeah,
I should
pretty
do
much
that.
read
I
it
should
like
do an
that.
entire podcast episode in Old English.
But yeah, the message that I've gotten, and they feel so threatened by like the tiniest of things. When Mark Wade did the Trinity story for World's Finest 30, and that one small panel on the last page sent someone into like a rage. And all Diana said was, just go already. You're making me blush. You're making me blush. Just
It's
go
also
already.
the way they were looking at each other. Diana looked like she was breathing through her mouth because she was so nervous. And I was like, yeah. Yeah, Dan, whoever drew that issue knew what they were doing.
But it's like, this is why DC needs the multiverse, because these characters have, they've lasted this long, and they're characters that can have multiple stories. They can have multiple timelines, endings if you want them to, just put them in different settings and all of that. So, and different status quos. But the fact that DC is being so lazy and not giving that a chance is why the fans that feel like they can dictate things feel they have the sense of insecurity and feel threatened by anything that they feel that can overshadow what they, the status quo that they are comfortable with. And of course, Superman and Wonder Woman does that. I mean, they will have an argument about Superman and Wonder Woman for 3 days straight. But with Chloe, it's maybe a one-time thing, or, they'll jump on you like, swarm you like hornets, and dogpile you.
Or as Britt likes to say, repressed chihuahuas. Now, I don't know what a repressed chihuahua is. She says stuff that is the funniest things I've ever heard.
Well, a repressed chihuahua is basically, how a chihuahua is so tiny, and they are little demons, and they will, bark and stuff, and will try to bite you, and they are little they have like this little repression, type thing, but they're so tiny you can kick them like a little football. You can.
Oh God!
I mean,
Kick them.
I
learned so much with you, Britt. It's like that one time. So Britt and our friend Jid were talking about pop singers in our group chat, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. So they were translating it as "she's Lois Lane," and I go, "Well, screw her."
Yeah.
I'm
We
like,
have to
okay,
put-
which one am I supposed to hate? Oh, her? Okay, good.
You have to put them basically in, our pop culture references. We put
Because
them
I don't
in.
know that many singers. But you should see me. It's like they'll be going on, and all I'll do is I'll post a GIF saying, "I am confused." By the way, when you sent me the fan art, I'm gonna say this. I love how they put Reeve and Carter in the Superman, Wonder Woman, Tony Daniel art.
Yes.
Good
That
Lord, well done.
Yeah. Roman, I think I said his name backwards. Hamlet Roman. He does a lot of realistic, art. Um, he started a comic, I think it was him, of uh Gal's Wonder Woman and Linda's Wonder Woman talking to each other. And I think that was him, and that was really cool, but I don't think he ever finished it. And then you have, he tons of Superman and Wonder Woman, Chris and Linda type arts. Yeah, I didn't know it's a lot of fan art. Kind of wishfully thinking of these two pairing up, you know. And so a comic would suffice, for that idea. Now, our story is probably, I would say, it's the closest thing that would make sense. But of course, with DC, they probably need someone to handhold and kind of like,
if DC ever came to us and said, right, we would have to say, okay, no one can edit us other than to edit the form. No one can say you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. And for the love of God, Peter J. Tomasi, Mark Waid, or Dan Jurgens, stay far away. I want that in the contract.
true. And actually, the contract, because they try to put the fine lines, the little itty bitty tiny print.
You need a magnifying glass to read that.
No, we are definitely going to draw up our own contracts because DC is not going to, basically take our story and you end up having like Lois taking the place of Diana or something that DC would do.
They would so do that. And then I would put in the fine print, you then cannot continue this story with another creative team. If you want to do it, we have to be involved and we have to have absolute, pun intended, authority over it. Also,
right.
Pun intended.
Yeah, it would definitely be our choosing of creative.
And it would just consist of Britt and I calling up Charles Sewell saying, "Hey, Charles, you up? And how much do you want? We will pay you whatever you want. For the love of God, please write this."
Yeah. I mean, DC has good, well, it's a rarity of having good writers.
Now, I will say this. I would want, tell me what you think about this, Britt, speaking of art. And I'm so sorry to interrupt you again.
Oh, no,
but how would you feel? Let's say they brought back Charles Sewell, but Daniel couldn't do the art. What did you feel about Sam Pear doing the art for Superman, Wonder Woman?
I would say yes. I think his art is good. It's sometimes the expressions need to be a little bit more expressive.
Because with me, the three modern DC artists that I would trust with this would be Sam Pear, Jen Bartel, and Dan Mora.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm sorry, that ending of Trinity absolutely was like, you get the latent sexuality of he was drawing up mad sexual chemistry for the two.
I would say I agree. Well, that wasn't Mora. That was oh my gosh, I don't
whoever
know his
drew that.
name.
Well, still Dan Mora, because I like his Superman and Wonder Woman, and what's kind of funny, he draws Superman and Wonder Woman young. even in like the more modern storyline. So they look like new 52 people.
And I also like that he gives Diana, well, I would say more his Kingdom Come Diana. She had a darker skin tone,
Yeah, there you
which
go.
I liked. The
And she's tall.
Yeah, the mainline Wonder Woman. Well, at least within Absolute, she wasn't. She was, but if he could translate, the iteration of how he had her for Kingdom Come, that would be better. Having her with a darker skin tone.
Now let me ask you this, Britt. So let's say DC did come to us and say we want to make the Shelterverse into a comic. Who would we do for an artist?
Dan
Mora?
Yeah.
Okay, I could definitely see that.
And also, if you want a new 52, and
the backups of the story could be all those moments we reference from their past, all those like pseudo romantic moments.
I would say Jack Herbert.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, let's see, Clayman. I would give a chance to Ed Benz.
Ed Benz for sure. Oh yes, please draw this book. He should draw their first date, because when he draws Diana, it's Ed Benz. It's Ed Benz. That's needless to say. And Jim Lee has to do a cover at one point. Please.
Yeah. And I would say, Ed Benz definitely for their first date, and just anytime, it's not so much of a spoiler, but anytime Diana is in the dress.
Yeah.
Well, the dresses that we sort of imagine her in, he is definitely the artist to draw her, in them.
There's like a lot, because if you wanted a consistent artist, because what we could do is like have a different art, because Britt and I have the story in 3 parts, multiple stories. So maybe each story, each like arc, if you will, we could change artists. So each thing has its own feel.
Yeah. I would say that if we had to, like the flashback scenes, of really fleshing out their relationships, significant moments within their relationship and how they are building it, I would say for those certain flashbacks, definitely a specific artist for that. I would want a whole entire issue of Jen Pertel, because I just think that with her art and the colors so vibrant, just to have like,
here's what we could do. The part of story 1 where it gets positive, you do Jen Bartel, because it's very bright and vibrant in terms of colors. I know what we're talking about this live on a recording, but you know what? We might as well involve them in our thought process.
Right.
But it's just so that way you kind of have maybe darker art near the beginning, and then as we go on through the story, it gets brighter.
And especially the transition of when they're flying together, and the sky, the transition of how it felt, so it always rained or something, or it was gray. It was this gray cloud. But then, as you transition to a happier, as it gets happier within the story, you see the transition as well in the sky of being, sunnier and the clearer skies and stuff like that. And I would want Jen to draw Clark and Diana flying together. Like, it's just something about that I think would be so, it would really stand out, to where DC should blow it up and it become like a poster or something like that. And even them within space, that is something that I think that she could do. Just masterful.
Here's another artist. What do you think of Michael Hanine?
Yes.
Yeah, I dug it because he did the art on the double date between Superman, between Clois and Batcat, and I thought he did a good job with. I think he did the art for that. No,
I think he
that
just
was
did
someone
the
else.
cover. That was Clay. That was
Yeah,
Clay.
Clayman. I love Clayman whenever he draws anything, so I'm like, yes, use him. But there you
Honestly,
go.
that was funny that you brought him up because Jid and I was talking and brought him up as well, and it was kind of like he's the only one or that gives Clark like a youthfulness and a little bit more of the um, sex appeal and a little bit of swagger back, you know. And like you said, even if you want that retro vibe, he still needs some type of confidence, though. I just don't want Superman to be just Mr. Rogers in a cape,
By the way,
you know?
one of my 9 ideas involves Clark Kent, so I just wanted to let you know
Oh,
I
I
got
can't
9
believe you
ideas.
just put, yeah, I was just like, how you just gonna slip in 9 ideas, you
It's
know?
called my notes app, Britt.
Oh my God. I just need to be quiet because,
Well, if you be quiet, we don't have the interaction. So you're kind of screwed when you think about it. You're
yeah,
really
yeah. Well,
screwed.
let me go back to the Chihuahuas again. So, so basically, what I meant with that still is honestly, you're not gonna kick a Chihuahua. You can tame them or
Why
whatever, but
would
you're not
you?
gonna, they're still cute. Okay? You will probably want to kick a Superman fan because they deserve it. With the
Figuratively kick them. Figuratively
okay,
on
we
Twitter.
can
I have to say that figuratively.
figuratively on Twitter. Well, I'll just post a kicking gif or something. Um, but yeah, just that whole thing of wanting to bait people in and start, you know, uh, confrontations and then play victim. I have no,
I had someone play a victim, and I'm like, wait a second, you engaged me.
and they want to make it seem like a certain fandom. It's kind of like they feel like they can talk about certain characters and they can put down like female characters that's not Lois. But as soon as you criticize Lois, that is when they get so defensive. And the reason why I say you want to kick them is because of the fact that they make physical threats though.
Mm-hmm.
They make like they are going to jump out the screen and want to fight you for real, you know. And it's kind of crazy that you will defend a fictional character before you defend a real live person.
I know. It's really, really weird. But anyway, see, the thing about it is ultimately just be nice to people.
Right.
Now,
It's
the other thing I'm going to say, I said this in the anti-bullying video, but I'm going to reiterate it here. For the most part, Britt and I are in this for the long run. We're not going anywhere. And I'm not just saying that to the people that are trying to bully us. I'm saying it to the people that are bullied by the Superman fandom. We are going to be here for you.
yeah. I mean, anytime if someone needs to talk, if someone needs to um just want to vent out something or they are getting attacked and need some type of help of maybe needing to back up a little bit to de-escalate the situation, but just shoot me and Jared a DM on Twitter or me on Instagram. We are always available for that because like I said, it is becoming a lot, with the bullying, the threats, and just that hostile environment on a social app that you are supposed to be social in. Yeah, it's going to be some negative um and people going back and forth with debates, but you need to know when to draw the line. And some people do not know where to, you know, even if the line is drawn, they still want to step over it. And it's kind of like, if you step over that line, you are either going to step over it at the very wrong time with the wrong person. And that is something that you just shouldn't put yourself in at all. But it's not like we can change everything and make it like a utopia. But at the same time, we just want to keep the positivity, going, and at least try to balance it out and drown out as much negative as we can.
Exactly. So I think that's a good place to leave this episode. This was a fun one. I really enjoyed this. And here's the thing. Here's why Britt and I worked as a partnership, because me, the Lord of Comics, I learn so much whenever we record any of these.
I am always glad that you are learning. I don't know if you're learning the right things.
Oh, trust me, I'm not learning any Amazon's attack level information, unlike you.
Well, that's true. I would say I'm trying to be more helpful and informative,
Which you are.
Thank you. Instead of things like that, because honestly, I would have rather gone, the rest of my life without knowing that story. That really traumatized me. So
I will never let a day goes by that I don't remind you about Amazon's attack. That's my promise to you, Britt.
Honestly, I am so glad I never actually sat and read that, because just with you talking about it traumatized me. Actually,
well, guess what you're reading for April Fools?
Oh, see, I need to be quiet. Oh, geez.
Yes. Oh boy, this is gonna be fun. That's gonna be
Well,
fun.
you're gonna have a whole bunch of beeps.
Yes, exactly. I can have a lot of sugar honey iced tea level stuff, but
Yes.
Brett, so you have anything you want to tease us with?
All right, so you're finally able to have a tease of chapter 2.
Oh, really?
However,
finally? It's only been 82 years.
But, but of course okay, I'm trying to finish, and then you add another line within it. So it's kind of like, that's your fault. You are basically prolonging everything because of the.
So I'm
But
too
seriously,
awesome for you to get this done?
but on a serious note, working with this entire universe, though, that we've
So
created,
great!
it is, and the amount of detail that we put in this. Well, honestly, you can tell why, when comic books are, you wonder why, how are they able to have issues out, on a monthly? Because they start these books 2 to 3 years beforehand. And it does
Even
take a
Tom
lot of
King, when he started on Wonder Woman, he said, I had the first 3 issues written and done and ready to be drawn.
Yeah, and it does take some time to really nail down the dialogue, and especially because it's not being drawn, you have to put the detail of the
That's
scene.
true.
And that is one thing that honestly, that is why it does take long, because I am a very detail-oriented person.
I joke, but that's one of the things I always loved about your stories, even before you and I were close friends.
Well, thank you, dear. See, you always. Okay, so not only do you have to have the cat gif for the stories, but also just being so nice.
I'm going to count that as a 10th idea.
I know. So, yeah, so I want what we want the reader to have, just a visual, every detail that you read, you are able to clearly see in your mind, because you can't, see it without the art. And that is something that is so beautiful, to read something and able to clearly see it. So that is what we want. And to be able to create this, like I said, to create this universe, first of all, this was just going to be like, I think it was going to be a one shot at first.
Oh,
Then
it started off as like a one shot, then maybe 5 chapters, and then
yes, now it is 4 separate stories.
Britt, you know what it actually is? You ever see any of those representations of the Big Bang where it's just darkness and all of a sudden a nuclear explosion goes off?
Yes,
That's what it is.
that is what this universe is. And now it first we had it as just 3 stories. And then we want to do a couple of one shot, just something a little bit off of the based on the 3 stories that we first had. And then it ends up being 4 stories. And now it's just a total different, you have this adjacent story here, different of basically building our own multiverse within the Shelterverse.
We kind of
And
are when you think about it. And that's the fun part. This is what the multiverse should be.
yeah, and the fact that it all connects and we are able to connect it in such a consistent way, meaningful way, and we have these what's what I love so much about this is that we are establishing like these constants. So
Hmm.
within every story, there is a constant like a certain way. This isn't a it's within the story, but it's not so much of a spoiler. I can say it of how Diana has her hair, you know,
Or
how
like
she
we kind of have it where it's a multiversal constant, and this is not a spoiler because you guys know us, where Superman and Wonder Woman eventually will get together.
yeah, it takes some time for them to get together, and they do
Mhm.
have like what's so good is that we can put them in different scenarios. So in one story, they are arguing like an old married couple, bickering and stuff like that. And
Oh, yeah.
then in another, they are best friends, or they've lost each other and have to find their way back to each other. One of them has um died or something, and you have to bring them back to life, or or something like that, or meeting each other, their counterparts or something like that, to bring them together in some type of way. But it's still not just a predictable story, though. Even if it is that Clark and Diana do end up together, or maybe they don't, but they have still that special bond that shows that relationship that they have really does matter. And I think that with us doing this, it's even more so a push because of how DC has disrespected and neglected this relationship. That is not
Or like Wonder Woman as a character.
right. And it's not so much as, like I said, it's not the romance. Because one thing, Wonder Woman 13, the latest issue, of how, you want to force a romance, and it's just out of nowhere to where it's at the expense of Wonder Woman as a character. That's not how you do it. For the past 4 days, Wonder Woman has been dragged on Twitter, on these different social sites, and in reviews, because her priority was more so romancing Steve than saving the world. So it's kind of like, that is not Wonder Woman. You don't do that. So with our story, and that's another thing that's so hypocritical and um, a double standard, because of how the claims that they have for Superman and Wonder Woman is that Diana is reduced. She's just a love interest, or with them together, they lose their humanity. They see themselves as above, the sibling incest, all of these claims, but yet Wonder Woman and Superman are purposely distant. And these same exact claims are being shown within their own individual books now. You have Wonder Woman reduced in her own book, where Damian is the star, and he's leading, within this tie-in event. Uh, you have Superman with Lois. She has to have powers in order to be relevant to the story. and you have this shallow sort of thought of what a power couple is, and that is just not the way to make your readers invest in a couple, or just the character or the story, period. And the one thing that was established in Superman and Wonder Woman called power couple was that the world comes first. So why would we why would you think that Superman and Wonder Woman is a bad couple when you have no type of factual evidence of that? If you do use Superman and Wonder Woman's book, it has always been that they put the world first and said it within the context. But then if you compare it,
and they did this in Crisis Part 3. I don't think this was an intentional reference to Superman and Wonder Woman, but I brought this up to Britt because Britt was kind of upset that like Wonder Woman died instead of they have their own like happy ending. But I realized, no, Britt, this is actually even more fitting because remember, the world always comes first.
right? Yeah, I had to kind of be reeled back in because of how the previous animated, verse treated Diana. So it's kind of like, oh, everybody else gets a happy ending, but she's the one that doesn't. Even though her happy ending, with understanding the context, that she did want to start over her life, be with her mother, and basically
she was lonely. And again, this is where I come in. I tell Britt, okay, calm down, look at it this way. And then she DM me later. She's like, I rewatched the scenes. You have a point.
Yeah. So with that, if we have so much of evidence that this couple makes those type of sacrifices, but yet you compare it to Wonder Woman issue 13, and you see how her priority was not on the fact that other heroes were in prison and the world is basically on fire.
Steve Trevor's lips come first.
Yeah. And the thing is, the way Tom King writes romance is very cardboard. It's not even when he doesn't have anything to actually say about the couple, it's kind of like that's that go-to thing of just make them kiss, and no, that is not how you write a relationship. I don't understand why Superman and Wonder Woman had to be justified. They had to continue to explain their relationship and even as friends, their bond. But yet, maybe it is because it's default that there's no explanation truly needed for Lois and Clark or Steve and Diana, because you just have that obviousness, or that it's predictable. It's that is their role. But wanting to invest in that couple though, and wanting to actually see the journey and to truly understand why.
Yeah, exactly.
You want that. But
and that's go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, no, these writers do not want to do that. They don't want to take the time to not only, they don't want to flesh out the characters themselves, but the relationships. They just want it very easy, which is, again, ironic that Rucka would call Superman and Wonder Woman easy, but yet this was just as easy. Well, that relationship was actually easy because there was no explanation. There was no truly showing why this is such a great couple. But Superman and Wonder Woman, not only did they talk naturally about what makes them come together, but we are actually shown that.
Exactly. So now on that, yes. So Britt, and that's the thing about Britt and my stories when we write these is that we're writing it to show you. First off, at least I bring in a lot of like obscure comic references, and Britt does too, because we want to show you we have read this stuff. That's why I gravitate towards Brit stuff because she brings in characters into the stories where I'm like, where I legit said this chick knows what she's talking about because there's no way she would bring up this character. I'm like, whoa. But the minute you did that, I was like, okay, I see it. But on that note, everyone, stay heroic. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lane. She belongs to General Zod. Zois and Max a Bat for life. I'll see you later.